Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We've got a couple of guests with us today. We've got Elan from Exploding Kittens, and we have Gustav from Demio. I'm going to kick it off. We're just going to play around a golf and just chat VR, game design, just anything and everything. So I guess why don't we just do it? Whenever you take your putt, you can give yourself a little intro. So I'm Lucas Martell, by the way. I'm the creator of Walkabout Mini Golf.
But, and from that putt, way better than I am at this game. This is not going to go well. All right.
I should play left-handed to make it... I've played this game too much, so I'll switch over to my left controller to make it a little bit more fair.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Gustav. I work at Resolution Games, and I'm the producer for Demio, our social VR tabletop RPG.
I've never heard it pronounced. I always say Demio, so Demio is,
I know. I was I made that same mistake.
Yeah. And I made a mistake now, right?
That's about what to expect from me, so well done. Yeah. Let's see. So I'm Elan. I'm the co-creator and CEO of Exploding Kittens, which is an actual physical game, tabletop card game. And I don't know. What else is there to say? We make a whole bunch of games now. We've been around for about 7 years, and we've got close to a dozen games out now. And here, now let me just embarrass myself here.
Hang on. Yeah. This is one of the harder courses. We'll have to.
No,
we always, whenever we have a bad round, we always blame Henning, because this was one of the courses that he designed, and he's actually gotten way nicer over the last few courses, but he really likes being mean to people.
And I'm Don Carson. I'm one of the art directors here at Mighty Coconut, and despite the fact I do play this game, I really am not very good at it. So, as you can see.
Well, at least you ended up on the actual course.
I'm still on the green.
Exactly.
Hey, I also think
play,
we might have
that's all that
chosen the
matters.
same ball.
We did. It's the
sparkly,
station
glowy red one?
Sparkly, yeah.
Yeah. What's amazing about... Ooh, very nice shot.
Ooh, nice shot.
What's amazing about that is
Yeah.
there's like 100 balls to choose from, and somehow we got the same
And
one.
we picked that one. Yeah.
It is always funny though whenever we release something, how it's sort of like the Sweetopia putter, like almost everyone's been using that lately. So it does feel like it goes through, like there's a favorite ball, a favorite club that goes through like little phases and everything. So
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Well, I mean, this is just going to be sort of a casual conversation, but I know one very interviewee question that I always like to know from everybody is just sort of like how you got into this, what you're doing in terms of game design, in terms of tabletop, or just like, how did you guys find your way into this?
All right. Yeah. So I mean, I studied. I was actually started as a programmer.
Okay.
Way back when, like in the early 2000s, I was making position-based mobile games before it was cool.
What?
And then
you said that was like the early
got into
2000s.
producing.
Was that all PC-based stuff then?
No, it was mobile. So we used the
okay.
GPS triangulation system to. Where's the hole on this?
Yeah, it's hidden over here.
To like find the player
By the way, again,
positions.
that was an insanely good shot.
Hang on.
Come on, stop. Oh.
So that was very.
Again.
So that was very early on. I mean, not exactly AR, but kind of the precursor to a lot of the AR stuff that was happening. Position-based, GPS, sort of like, kind of.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was,
and that was such a that was like right when that was just becoming possible, because you finally had probably access to all that stuff within the phone. So, which was there?
Exactly, like
was
the
there
first
anything that you had
camera
released out of that?
So that was a game called Bot Fighters. It's not around anymore. I was working on the first visual client for that. But,
okay.
Then I joined Tommy, our CEO over at Resolution. Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Yeah. And on one of his first start again. Huh?
Oh, stop,
hang on.
stop,
It might hang on. No,
Oh, so very close.
I'm the worst.
Oh, this is awkward. I'm standing inside a pillar here, but all right, whatever.
But you can. Try that in the real world.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. How did you get your start, Elan?
Let's see. I started out not really knowing what the hell I wanted to do. I started out doing special effects for movies. I was working at Industrial Light and Magic, and really fell in love with design, character design, 3D worlds, and got a job at Microsoft. They hired me as lead game designer on the very first Xbox.
wow.
21-year-old me having no idea what I was doing. They basically said, here's $200 million, please don't mess it up. And it was nuts. It was the craziest job ever. But I really fell in love with design. We launched, me and a very large team of incredibly talented people launched the first 6 games on the Xbox, the launch portfolio. And that did really well. Luckily, one of those games was Halo, and that kind of put me on the map. And then I started a series of startups after that, just really wanting to do all kinds of immersive storytelling and game design. I did a bunch of alternate reality games, if you know what those are. I started a clothing company that had storytelling built into the shirts. I did another video game company, 6 different startups. And then decided to try tabletop games. Really, it's just a break from the digital, trying to get people away from screens for once. And started Exploding Kittens with my friend Matt Inman, who created and draws the oatmeal. So he does all the art. I did all the game design, and we launched a little company.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you guys like old friends, or did you meet through work, or?
We met through a mutual friend. We'd known each other for about a year, just casual acquaintances. I had just resigned from my last job. I was like, I'm done. He was going through a kind of a tough time, and so we ended up. A friend invited us both on vacation, and we're both like, we're gonna do nothing. We're not gonna talk about work. We're not even gonna think about anything complicated.
Yeah.
And we were just hanging out, and he's like, hey, I heard you had a little, scribble Sharpie deck of cards that you're excited about. And I was like, yeah, but here we are in Hawaii. We're not gonna play cards. Like, let's go jet skiing. Let's go scuba diving. And he's like, no. 5 minutes. Let's play your game for 5 minutes. And I was like, all right, fine. 5 minutes, and then we're going scuba diving. And so we played for 5 minutes. And then he's like, this is awesome, let's play again. And we played again and again and again. And 2 hours later, we're still playing instead of enjoying Hawaii. And at the end of that, he's like, let's start a company together. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's try it.
Okay.
And so we put our game up on Kickstarter, just trying to raise $10,000 to get started. Raised about $9 million instead and started a company.
That's wonderful.
That was one of the massive like Kickstarter like runaway success stories when that was when you were just starting to hear about them. You were right at the cusp of that.
Yeah, it broke every record that Kickstarter had. Number of backers, amount of money raised, like just everything. It caught us completely off guard. But what a way to start a company, right? Like no investors, nobody owns anything other than us. And day one, 700,000 orders. Like just nuts.
Wow. Yeah. There's something especially about physical games that, I feel like Kickstarter is still, that's one of the areas that Kickstarter does very well, or just crowdfunding in general. Like when there is a physical product that comes along with it, and it's like you're paying for you get people who are buying it get a sense of like, oh, I want that physical thing.
That's right.
More so than digital stuff. It seems like.
That's right.
It's like a new era for board games, right? And Kickstarter has a big part of
really
that,
like before that. What was most interesting before that? You walk into. Sorry, we're not. Should we can sort of.
Oh yeah, no. I was kind of. Sometimes it's kind of nice to just stop and chat a little bit.
Yeah.
But, Well, I'll keep the game moving here.
You go into Target, and the only games you can buy there are like, Monopoly and Uno, and we just got really lucky. Right at about that time, they took an interest in, like, what if we expand our game section? What if we actually make party games that people are interested in, new games? And they took a risk on us. So we went from Kickstarter to retail very seamlessly. Again, just got really lucky. Right place, right time.
That seems like so much of what just, like, especially in the games world, so much of it is that. That was even with you and sort of like Microsoft, like, right place, right time. I mean,
That's
obviously
right.
there's a lot of skill that goes into that, and having the right pieces there is such a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the
Absolutely
same
right.
thing where we're at right now with VR is that it's just a very it's folks like Demio and us, and there's a ton of different games, and we're talking with several different folks, but yeah, we're just sort of we were caught completely by surprise at how much it took off, and several things, especially like the social thing that a couple people have talked about, was like something that we had never, I never had an idea that was going to, I just missed. That was going to be such a critical part of what everyone's wanting VR to be. So
Yeah. Well,
so what was the
especially with
inspiration
COVID.
for Walkabout? Like, did you try other mini golf games, or was it just
I
Something you had to
grew up
do, or-
loving mini golf when I was a kid, and frankly, it was kind of a COVID project. We had started playing around with it, and there was another game that I had done. Nice shot.
Wow.
There was another shot
Very
that,
nice
or
shot.
another game that I had made called Laser Mazer, which was sort of like this AR VR hybrid thing. And so originally it started as a phone game, and then once the Quest came out, we ported it over, and I just happened to be going to Indiecade and showed it to the Oculus folks there, and it was right after the Quest 1 had just come out. And it happened but it was very much that, sort of like right place, right time, but it still required work to get there and to have those things that were just ready, which,
Yeah.
it's
What
such a magic
what I love
combination.
About this, what works so well about this game, we're all remote now, right? And we've been remote for 2 years, and we've tried for the longest time, let's all jump on Zoom and we'll talk about our day, and that gets exhausting so quickly. But this environment, exactly what we're doing, right? Just getting to catch up with people while there's this very barely uses any real part of your brain background thing. It's your turn for a moment, and then it's not for a long time. For me, this is my favorite way to be social during COVID, and I love it. I just absolutely adore this thing.
There's
It was the
something
same
about
for-
games that
for me
frankly I
as
think
well.
there's something about games, and I think it applies to all of our games, but there's some aspect of a shared activity that the activity is sort of what brings you together, but it's the hanging out with people that sort of keeps it sort of interesting or engaging, or just sort of we're trying to make the best mini golf game that we can, but I think what people keep coming back for is that they want to play with their their friends and family and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Don, I don't know that we've actually gotten the chance to sort of I don't know that you've been on any of the live streams, so we should have you introduce yourself too, because you're one of the newest members of the team.
I am. I'm also the graybeard at the company. My background is actually in theme park design. I worked for Walt Disney Imagineering years ago, and I became a real fan of Walkabout because my fellow designer friends and I stayed together through COVID by playing miniature golf, and every time we played, we just kept saying, we got to write to these people and just congratulate them for such a job well done. And a lot of it was because a lot of the design choices that are made here are very similar to a theme park, in that we understand that the themed environment is the context for humans to get together and socialize. And my fan letter turned into a job, and I'm probably the happiest I've been in ages. And we're such a small, lithe sort of ensemble of a team that we everybody touches everything, and every time it leaves your hands and goes into somebody else's hands, it's made better. And I think
what
that's
a nice statement.
well, it's really
that
evident.
feeling is-
If you look at the DLCs, they're just getting richer and deeper and more coming.
Beautiful shot.
I like a little
Nice
bow
shot.
after
Thank you.
that. That was a very, very well played shot.
But that's the best feeling, right? When you're working creatively
It is.
and you're part of a team, and then you go away for a minute and you come back and something has happened that's made it much better.
Yeah.
That always amazes me.
I have to say, this is kind of related to something Don was just saying, but I feel like we're also in a very interesting time right now where VR specifically, but I'd imagine that even with what you're doing, Elan, this falls into that same boat where it's the smaller studios who are able to do the most interesting stuff because they're not constrained by the normal sort of like, you're not going to spend $300 million on a AAA game for VR yet. I think we'll get there, but it's such an interesting time where it really is the smaller studios that are kind of doing the most. I know we're at about 16 people right now. It started as a solo project, but now we're pretty much at full, like we've got the full team pretty much together. I'm just kind of curious how large your guys' teams are. Like Resolution is quite a large studio, but you're working on a lot of different games, right?
Exactly, that's the thing. So our concept is, so we've grown. We're at 140 people now, I think, or something like that.
Wow.
Oh boy.
But we're spread across, I think, 10 different game projects. So we keep our team small, and we try to, each team should be like a small indie studio.
Yeah.
So depending on the where in the development life cycle, a typical team is between maybe 4 for an early start and then up to like 20 in full production. Demio obviously is larger since we have multiple content teams, and we're working on the PC version. We're working on some like the PvP mode. There's a lot.
Oh, that's just bad luck right there.
Yeah, that was.
All right, I'm gonna try a different approach.
But that's a really just interesting way of doing it and breaking it down. It's sort of like being like, you've got a large company, you have the resources of a larger company, but there's enough going on that you can sort of like, you can still shuffle people around a little bit. But does it end up being that the teams largely stay together from start to finish, or is it almost more like a pipeline where it bounces between different departments?
No, it's each team is like a self-contained unit for the most part. So we have coders, game design, 2D and 3D artists, all in one roof. We do have some shared team of like animation, sound effects and stuff that work across teams. And we do try to keep the teams, like keep them together.
And then
Nice.
you kind of also have the benefit of essentially sort of, because you're publishing all of your own stuff as well, so then you probably have a publishing team, because that's one of the other big challenges for a lot of indie studios, is just that publishing hurdle is, there's a lot to do, and ironically I feel like we have learned a lot about that, but it's largely because we're almost at the point where we're doing monthly releases now, so we have so many releases and so many times to get through. We're not having to do certification for every platform every time, but it's still a very going through those steps on a regular basis. But
Nice shot.
yeah, that's one of those big things, that having
nice.
that's such an interesting thing. So Elan, how big is your team?
We're at about 100 people now. Like I said, we've been doing this for about 7 years, and it started with just 3 of us in a garage, which is kind of like the most fun way to do a startup. And now we're, now there's like an HR department, which is a whole new beast that I'm not used to.
Yeah, my wife is our HR department, so.
Yes. Yeah, we did that for a while. Hey, I just noticed something that I gotta say. You've implemented a feature here that you were very quiet about that I'm so delighted, which is now I can see the ghosts of the lost balls that I've already found, so
Yes.
I can talk to friends about where they are.
yeah.
Thrilled that feature is in there. So
And
thrilled.
Fox Hunt as well.
Oh, and I just realized, so
man.
Gustav, this is the first time you're playing this course too, so you're really, I think you're actually in the lead though now.
Really?
Oh no, you're
How did
tied.
that happen?
Oh man, I
so-
do not want to go first here.
This is
All right.
confidence
All right,
check.
all right.
This is
All right. Nope, not like that.
so. I'd
Actually,
imagine,
produced
Elan, that you guys are
a
also
mini golf
working
game.
on.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's the little audio delay. I was just going to ask.
Yeah,
So,
that's-
Elan, it sounds like you guys are working on several different games, sort of simultaneously. But then there's also just supporting. What's the sort of like the makeup of that?
Oh yeah, that's it's been quite an education actually. So we do work on.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice
so
choice.
close. We do work on
Almost.
a lot of games at once. And our goal is always to release 4 new tabletop games a year. But most of the people at the company now,
Nice.
wow. Holy crap, that was amazing.
I'm pretty glad that I was able to
most-
do that left-handed. That was risky.
That was astounding. All right, wait.
You must own this
first I
company.
gotta try that. That seemed like this the secret, so let me try that. Get up there.
Nice.
I'll get up there. No.
Stay.
Ooh.
Stay. Ah.
Most of the people are actually on the production end of things now. Like game design, we have a team of 4 or 5 people, but it's producing the game, getting it out of China, figuring out retail relationships, figuring out packaging, art. It's actually producing the physical thing that takes up most of our time these days.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I mean, it is almost more almost in terms of the makeup. It is almost more of a publisher then, as opposed to the development
much
studio,
so.
which is a smaller part of the company. So.
Very much, yeah.
It's such a different set of challenges, right? Producing physical games.
Oh,
Like,
it's so
the
different.
price of
And the other
paper
thing, yeah.
makes a difference,
the
right?
price of paper, by the way, this year is killing us. But the other thing that most people don't realize, which I really miss from my days of working in digital, is, oh no, is when you release a video game, you do your best, but you know that anything wrong, you can just patch it later. Physical
Oh,
games, you miss that luxury. Anything you put out is final forever. And it's
very good-
terrifying. It is just such a rough way to work.
Yeah, that's something that I never really never thought of, and I guess I haven't even really realized how much we go through and we add to it. And I mean, this game in particular,
Nice.
I've released a couple of smaller mobile games, and we've patched them and done some small things. But this is the first game that has sort of taken on a life after it, and the amount of features that we have added and things that we initially, this is great because we didn't know how the game was going to do, and it worked fine when it was a small number of players, but that as it grows, you just need to really add to it. So, when you actually think about how much we're going through and tweaking and adding. Nice. Wow, well
That was
done.
a nice.
Thank you. But so, how many courses did you launch with? Because you have a lot of content in here.
We launched with 4 courses. Keep going. Keep going.
It's still rolling. I'm holding down the trigger.
There you go.
Holding down the
Yeah.
trigger.
Yeah.
Hey.
Holding on the
That
grip
was
to keep it
wise of you.
alive. Yeah, well done. We launched with 4 courses, and then throughout last year, we basically added the other 4. So that was all within a year of launch. We went from 4 to 8 courses, not including the night modes, and then now we're trying to get to a cadence of 1 new DLC course per month. We're not there yet, but I'm thinking by midway through this year, we might be kind of starting to get to that spot. So, but
It's
yeah,
also worth
very much
mentioning
being
that- Yeah, Lucas, you hand built the first 4.
That's so
Yes,
rad.
I mean, I did have a, not quite. Yeah, the first 4, Tad had helped out with Tourist Trap on the first 4. But yeah, most of them were kind of assembled myself and in Gravity Sketch, and I come from a background. Actually, I wanted to ask you about that, because I didn't know that you had started off in the visual effects world, because that's my background as well. I was doing
I was reading
stuff
that.
for so I started off as a colorist and did assistant colorist on Sin City. Was one of the first things, and then moved into animation, and that's kind of how I just kind of wanted to learn animation, so I kind of picked it up on my own. But yeah, when would you have been at ILM then? What era?
Oh, let's see. What era? It was before they moved. So it was I want to say 98, 99, somewhere in there. And it was I was there when they were working on Star Wars Episode 1. I'll tell you my 2 favorite stories. One is I was the intern there when I first started. And so my job was things that nobody else wanted to work on, like chaining Jar Jar Binks' neck, for example.
Someone has to do it.
Nobody wanted to touch that. Yeah. Or the other fun one was I got to work on Titanic. And so whenever that'll help with the year in case I messed up the year. But it was
Okay,
when
yeah.
Titanic was going through there.
Oh, look at that.
Wow!
Nice.
That was super.
So, they filmed the end scene in Titanic, right? Wow, again.
Done.
All right.
Yeah,
You're all
big
way
hitters.
too good at this game. It's the two lead actors in the water freezing to death. It's Arctic water, and you can see their breath and the whole bit. The trick is they filmed it in the Gulf of Mexico, and you can't see their breath. That water is warm, and so the intern's job is to hand animate the volumetric breath of every actor every time they exhale. That's what I did for an entire summer.
Oh wow!
It
They didn't just use plates for that. They actually did like full volumetric sims on that.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
miserable.
That sounds miserable.
Yeah,
This is where the left-handed really gets
bad.
me, though.
Oh, I can't believe you're still
Yeah.
playing left-handed. Very impressive.
I'm gonna give it a shot.
All right.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was. I mean, and that probably would have been. That was in that really interesting era as well, like that late '90s when visual effects had just sort of taken off, but there still weren't a lot of ways of learning it or getting into it, and sort of like because you said that you had started off with a programming background, so you had the tech background, and then just got into it.
That's right. Yeah.
Through that side of things.
Literally writing shaders by hand. Like it was really, really rough back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And do you
but
miss
fun.
any of the digital? I mean, do you miss any of the digital stuff now that you're in more of a printed or more physical medium, or do you still kind of? Are you glad to be out of that, or is that?
I'm so I have a 4-year-old at home, and the thing that I'm very excited about is I get to work on stuff that one I can play test with her every night, which is so fun for me. And two is it's just I'm really at a point where I've built so many products for so many screens. I'm very excited to finally be doing the opposite and just say like, look, what if we all sit around a table together, and what if we are the entertainment? And that's new for me. I really, really enjoy that in a way I didn't expect to.
Yeah,
That's great.
You also get to actually the physical copy aspect, right?
Yes.
Which is really cool.
Yes,
Like
that's right.
I've been
That's
doing
right.
games since early 2000s, but nothing I ever made it into because I've been working with mobile games, I've been working with web-based games. I was at King, but I never ever got to hold a physical copy of a game in my hand.
I think something that Demio does really well is that, and it's a rule that we use in theme parks and we try to use here with Walkabout, is that if you begin with fulfilling the expectation of your audience, and in the case of a tabletop game, you've created this wonderful basement that you can start out in. It creates the context, and then once the context is created, then you exceed the expectations by all the amazing and wonderful things that happened above and beyond it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a really good point. Yeah. How do you go out, Elan, how do you, Exploding Kittens? Because that's a game where, the gameplay itself is almost, I don't want to say it's independent. I'm sure that there are links, but it feels like, because so much of that one is sort of the irreverence of the art style and the sense of humor, but you could almost do a similar game with a totally different sort of aesthetic or art style, and it would still do the same mechanics. How did those echo each other when you're designing?
Yeah, well, our theory, the whole premise behind Exploding Kittens and every game we do is the game should not be entertaining. The game should make the players entertaining. And so if you look at the Exploding Kittens cards, each one is very specifically designed to start an interaction between two players. And once we had that as our core, then you're right, you could wrap any art around it. Matt's beautiful, funny, irreverent art has worked really well for us, but it
The
all
Taco
starts
Cat.
with Taco Cat, right? But it all starts with game design for us. I've worked at a lot of other game companies, and they're like, oh, we need to really solve the theme, and then we'll build the rules of the game around the theme. And we are the exact opposite. All we care about is build a tool set for player interaction, and then wrap any theme around it, because the theme does not matter.
Wow. So, is there anything that you guys can say about what you're working on next? Is there anything that's been announced or in process, or is the next thing very hush-hush for you guys?
I can always talk about next stuff. There's one of the beautiful things about nice shot. One of the beautiful things about my industry is it's hard to steal.
Because you have the physical. There's not a whole lot of people doing it, and you have the physical barrier that
it
makes it more difficult to steal.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing that we're working on we actually have a live Kickstarter campaign right now for our new game that we're going to launch later this year called Hand to Hand Wombat. And I'm so happy with this game. It's like if you've ever played Among Us, it's like a werewolf or assassin type game, except there's a physical component. So everyone's, those little toys you played with as kids where it's a series of donuts, a big one, a little smaller, and you kind of put them on a pole and you just stack them up. It's like a little toddler thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's that. There's 3 of those. Everybody closes their eyes. You have to collectively build those things, except one of you is trying to sabotage the efforts, and you're trying to figure out who that person is. It's the world's simplest task, made harder by your eyes being closed and that somebody is trying to screw everybody over constantly. It's so much fun.
Yeah. I love that.
So that's our Kickstarter.
So you said the Kickstarter. You said the Kickstarter for that is live, basically now, as long as we release
right
this soon
now,
enough.
Yeah, that's right. If you release this in time, yeah.
Well, we'll let you guys go. Have a awesome rest of your weekend. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely, anytime. Thank you so
much.
Thanks,
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Take care,
much,
everybody.
This was great fun.
See you later.
Lovely to meet you.
Awesome.